All right, Rob. So the line right now in this game is -3.5. Lions favored by 3.5. What do you make of how close the spread is on the road against the Lions? Does this mean people are sort of respecting the momentum that Green Bay has put together here?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. It opened at what, like 5 or 5.5?
I saw 5.5.
Yeah, I think the Lions are so banged up defensively. They lost a couple of D linemen in their game on Thanksgiving that I would think that has to play a factor in it as well. I mean, it's a little bit of a different defense than they saw a few weeks ago just because of all the injuries.
Rob, you understand the psychology of the game. Holmgren would always say it's very hard for a team to beat another team 3 times in 1 year. So with that being said, if we believe that the NFC Championship, even if the Packers win this game, are going to still go through Detroit, what do you think would be the best outcome of the game? Because I would say, just as a psychology of the player, I would say lose by like a last-minute field goal, lose by 3.
I get where you're going, but I still would like to be able to say that if we have to go back there in an NFC Championship game, that we as a group here, that this group, we in the locker room can say we just went in there and won on December 5th, right? Like if we have to play them in late January, like to me that's the mental outlook that I would want if I were on that team. That we went in there, we can do it once. We did it once, we can do it again. That's sort of the approach I think would serve them best. Although I do understand it's really hard to believe or to beat a team 3 times. I get that as well.
Rob Demovsky hanging out with 𝘾𝙀𝙀𝙀 as he does each and every Monday. Have the Packers played well enough in any of their games this season, Rob, to beat the Lions this week, or will they have to take their efforts to another level in order to walk out of there with the W?
Yeah, does it have to be their best game, Jen? Yeah, I mean, probably. They played pretty well against San Francisco. Obviously played really well against Miami, getting out to those big leads. I think they're trending in the right direction, which is a good sign. There's certainly a couple of areas, most notably penalties, that you can't commit penalties in those types of environments, like you're going to see in Detroit on Thursday, and get away with it. But yeah, I would say that they can't play the game. Has to be a continuation of the trend they're on. They can't just sort of go in on a level that they've been at. They probably do need to play their best game, but I do think it's trending in the right direction.
Rob, did you see what Tucker Kraft said about 𝘾𝙃𝙀𝙀? Basically, kind of very nicely call him out a dirty player. I was just wondering if LaFleur is okay with bulletin board material, because back in the day, if someone said something like that when Holmgren was the coach, you'd be in his office.
Rob, I'll read you the quote.
Okay.
It says, he's a respectable player in the NFC. In my mind, I'm not too worried about DBs. I'm more worried about the guys in the box. And then he goes on to say, I know he's a dangerous player. He can flip games. He's a good DB. I might not agree with some of the places he likes to lay contact. He's taken out some of my brothers out of the game. I think about that too. So if I get a chance to get my hands on him, playing football.
Well, first of all, we know Tucker Kraft's mantra is never let a DB bring him down, right? So he's gonna go in with that approach. Kirby had the pick 6, right, in the game here a few weeks ago. This is a guy that they better be careful of. To answer your question, Chewy, though, about LaFleur, I don't think that stuff bothers him necessarily. I don't think there's going to be a call to come down to the principal's office. I don't think he does that much anyway, like Holmgren used to do. Holmgren would call reporters in there and chew their butts out too. So, a lot of us were on the receiving end of a few of those tongue lashings, and LaFleur, at least not with me, he's never done that. So, I think it's a little different approach, but I don't think Tucker's totally out of line. Now, you don't want him going in there and taking some sort of a cheap shot because LaFleur did say a couple of weeks ago, right? Remember it was Elton had maybe it wasn't Elton. There was somebody who had a post snap penalty or post whistle penalty, and he said, "You do that again, you're going to be standing next to me with your helmet in your hand on the sideline." So that's about as strong as LaFleur has gone in a situation like that, and he hasn't had anybody over standing next to him. I don't know if he's followed through on that.
Rob, we put it on the Jen, Gabe, and Chewy Twitter poll this morning. Chew, did you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
We asked which team is under more pressure this Thursday, the Packers or the Lions? And we've come at it from both ways. Some people say the Packers have more pressure as the team that's chasing. Others say in order to hold on to that top spot, that top seed, the pressure is all on the Lions. Who do you think has more pressure?
Well, I think there is this, Jen. Like, if the Packers don't win, they can probably kiss their division hopes goodbye, right? So, like, I don't know if that's pressure or that's just the reality of the situation, and that they're now, I was going to say doomed to be a wild card, but that doesn't necessarily mean they'd be destined to be a wild card if they don't win the game. I think the rest of the league is looking at Detroit as the team in the NFC, and I think with that comes an inherent pressure. Winning 10 games in a row is an inherent pressure. I guess I would say that it'd be more on the Lions at this point than the Packers.
Rob, can we expect Dobbs and Jair to play on Thursday?
Yeah, I would. With Dobbs, I would think so. He practiced yesterday, which is one of the big steps in going through the protocol. He's still in the protocol, but assuming that he's back out there again today, that would mean that he passed that step that he needed to take yesterday and is on to the next one. So that's trending in the right direction. With Jair, Chewy, man, I mean, it's hard to say, but he was practicing yesterday as well. But with him, it's just so hard to predict.
Rob, we want to talk to you about the flag planting. We discussed it briefly. Probably needed a little more time to discuss it before, but you saw what happened this weekend with Ohio State and Michigan, and then, of course, in some of the other games that followed, Florida State. We talked about how Arizona State tried to plant a pitchfork on the field in their rivalry game this weekend. Where do you stand on that display of celebration in these college football games?
Well, look, I've seen it happen in high school up here. Our school, the De Pere Redbirds, a few years ago won at Bayport, the mighty Bayport, who won a state championship. This year they beat them up there in Bayport and ran out and celebrated on the pirate logo. I can't remember if there was a flag. I think there was a flag planted. And then when Bayport beat us in basketball, they kind of celebrated on the bird on our basketball court. And in neither case did it get physical. I mean, high school is not going to do that. But I guess here's my take on it. If you want to plant, if you beat us and you want to celebrate and plant the flag on half court or midfield in high major college football, go ahead. But just know that we might go after you. There might be a fracas, and I think that's fine. I don't necessarily think the cops need to come in, and I mean, yeah, it needs to be broken up after a little bit, like a hockey fight, right? Let them go for a little bit, and then step in and separate them. So I don't have a problem with either one. I think it adds to it. As long as nobody gets hurt, I think it's all right.
What about on the professional level, Rob? Say the Bears somehow beat the Packers last game of the year, their season's done, and go out there and plant the flag there.
Well, I mean, there you're talking about, financial implications career-wise if a guy gets hurt and misses the next game or something. I think in the NFL, I don't see that happening. I don't see it necessarily going that way. It's kind of like in the NBA, when a game's over, they don't even shake hands. They just give a little bit of wave off to the other team, and that's it. If you want to do it, just go ahead and get off my field after you're done, I guess. I don't see that becoming a thing in the NFL.
Well, there was another thing I saw this weekend where there was one team. Was it Nebraska? I feel like it was Nebraska. I'm going back through my database from this weekend. Did they not shake hands before the game? Was that a thing where they were refusing
against
to?
Iowa.
At the coin toss?
There we go. Thank you. Yes. All right. I like it when my brain comes through for me. So you said fracas. That's a fun word. I say melee. Melee is my go-to in these types of things. Ruckus, brouhaha. Josh, you got a preference on which of those words is most appropriate for what we saw on Saturday?
I like brouhaha. That one seems to be the best. It is fun to say. Fracas is great. It brings up a lot of imagination to me. There's a lot of words in an escalating scale. Like, you can go all the way up to like a full-out war that is between the two people. If you really feel like it, like what Michigan Ohio State looked like, that was out of control.
That was a tussle.
Yeah.
No, that was higher than a
That
tussle.
was
That was
like
shoving.
me,
That was a scuffle.
Jen, I think melee that's the top of the top. Like that's an all-out chaos, right? Like fracas is a little bit of a, it's escalated, but it's not a full-out just brawl.
We got
right?
ruckus. What about ruckus? How do we feel about ruckus?
Yeah, I think ruckus is still lower on the scale. It's just starting when it's a ruckus. It could turn into a fracas, which then becomes a melee.
How about misdemeanor?
That's just a couple of guys going off. Right? Remember this is a long old like 1950s or 60s boxing term, but a Donnybrook.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Donnybrook.
sure. I love Donnybrook.
Oh, that's a fun
Slobber
one.
knocker.
Oh, that's a
good
great one. Good old-fashioned slobber knocker. I think brouhaha is still the fun one to say. But we got some good ones there. A skirmish, a brouhaha, a ruckus, melee.
Skirmish is that's just a little pushing and shoving. Though.
So skirmish is low on the power rankings.
That
Skirmish.
might be the bottom. Yes, skirmish is the start. That's at the very bottom of the pyramid.
Skirmish above scuffle or below scuffle?
Same
Boy,
tier, I
A
think.
lot more, I think.
Yeah.
Altercation feels like the one the AP would approve of, though, don't you think, Rob? There was an altercation.
Yeah.
We forgot about fisticuffs.
Well, fisticuffs, that's right up there with melee, I think.
I agree. I'm with Rob.
All right, Rob. Now we've wasted enough of your time with the thesaurus over here. Have a great one. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, we'll see you.